Hi and welcome to our short tutorial on the tulle stitch. Now the tulle stitch can look very fine and lacy. We're doing it using our chunky gorgeous alpaca yarn, so it looks less fine and lacy, but still really cool, and it's a great stitch to learn about. It's a good way because on the row 1 and 3 we're increasing the stitches, and on row 2 and 4 we're decreasing the stitches. So these bars here are the decrease rows, but let's get going, and I'll show you first of all row 1 where we increase. So I've knitted the first 3 stitches. They're not part of the tulle design, they are just part of the edge stitch that we're doing with this. This is a Gen Z sampler scarf, so we're working in different blocks, and the edges are always it's garter stitch, so 3 knit stitches at the beginning, 3 at the end. But the tulle stitch itself is working in pairs, knit 1, then you're going to bring the yarn to the front, and then you're going to knit the second stitch. But notice as I knit the second stitch, the yarn is going over the needle to create a third stitch. So let's do a next pair. Knit 1, bring the yarn forward, and then knit the second stitch, and notice the yarn going over the stitch creates a third. So knit 1, yarn forward, and then knit the second stitch, and you have 3 stitches. Knit 1, yarn forward, knit 1, and I'm just going to take you, I think there's just one last sequence. Let's see. Knit 1, yarn forward, no, 2 more, so there's one last one now, and one last sequence. Knit 1, yarn forward, knit 1, and that's the end. So I'm just going to knit the last 3 stitches, which is part of our garter stitch edging. Okay, so let's turn it over and then we'll count. In this pattern we had 18 stitches. We increased them, and we should now have 24. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24. And as beginners, I do recommend, it's a 4-stitch pattern, and it's just worth as a beginner to check that you've got the right number of stitches. So we are now on row 2, and we're going to get rid of those extra 6 stitches that we created to take us back down to 18. So I'm just going to knit the first 3 stitches, not part of the tulle stitch pattern. So we're on the back of the knitting, so we're going to purl all the stitches. Purl 1, 2, 3, and now we're working in a sequence of 3, and we're going to take the first of those 3 stitches, and we're going to take it over the top of the other 2. So I'll show you a little technique for that in the next sequence. So let's go purl 3, 1, and look at that strange middle stitch. It doesn't look like a stitch, it's a yarn over. It's created a hole, which is a beginner's nightmare normally, but we're doing it on purpose. So we're doing purl 3, and then we're going to take the first of those 3 purled stitches and loop it over. But the little technique that one uses almost unconsciously is you just hold the yarn like as though it were a rein, just to hold the other 2 in place a bit tighter than you would normally, just to keep them on the needle as you pull the first stitch over. So our sequence of 3 again. 1, 2, 3, pull the first stitch over, and 1 straightforward stitch, as long as you don't panic when you see that strange looking yarn over, or as we call it in England, yarn forward stitch. Look at those strange stitch. Just don't worry about it, it is correct. Very weird looking, but go with it. Just take the first of those 3 and pull it over. 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to go, we finished those, we're just going to knit to the end, because that's our garter stitch. So that's 2 rows done. Let's check, we should have 18 stitches. 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, 13, 15, 17, 18. Okay, so we've got back down to 18. We're now going to increase them. Actually, we are almost repeating the first row, except that we want to move the stitches across a bit. So we're going to let's just garter stitch the first 3 stitches. And row 3, we knit 1 first of all before we start our sequence. So I've knitted 1, and now I'm going to do my pairs. Knit 1, yarn forward, and it takes it over, of course. Knit 1, knit 1, yarn forward, knit 1, knit 1, yarn forward, knit 1, it takes over the needle again. And the next sequence, knit 1, yarn forward, knit 1, knit 1, knit 1, yarn forward. And for the pattern area, we've got 1 leftover stitch which we knit, because we started off with 1 knit stitch and we end with 1 knit stitch. Let's just do the garter stitch fringe, and then let's count our stitches, which, unless I've made a mistake, is 23. Two, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 23. So row 4 and the final row of the sequence, because after that you're just repeating rows 1 through 4. Let's get rid of those extra 5 stitches. So we're just going to knit the 3 on the edge, and the difference between row 2 and row 4 is we're simply putting an extra purl stitch in there at the start, purl 1. Now let's do our sequence, purl 3, and we've got that strange looking stitch in the middle again. Just go with it. So pick up that first of the sequence and take it over the last 2. So let's do purl 3, 1 strange looking stitch, keep it high and steady, don't panic, and treat it as a normal stitch. Purl 3, let's get rid of that first stitch by taking it over. Let's keep going. 1, 2, 3, take that one over the top, and how many more? I think we might have 2 more sequences, so take it over the top. 1, 2, 3, take it over the top, and let's do a purl stitch. The final stitch is a purl stitch on its own, and we'll just do our garter at the end, and unless I'm much mistaken, let's turn it the right way around and count our stitches. I'm hoping we're back down to our original starting point, which was 18. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18. Great. So that is the tulle stitch done and dusted.